Welcome back to Sushi Day. Today is May 32nd, which means I definitely have not accidentally completely missed the Practical Escapist's Ghibli May event. No, I have not. So I thought about doing a Totoro something, but I already did that Totoro Black Sesame shortbread a couple months ago, so I didn't want to repeat myself. So I decided that I'm going to try something that's a little new to me. I'm gonna make some mochi, which I've only done a couple times before, so I'm not super good at this. And I'm gonna make the mochi look like SOOT sprites. Hopefully it turns out cute. First things first, we gotta figure out our filling. You could go with completely plain mochi, that'll be delicious. You don't have to fill it with anything. Or you could use some of the traditional fillings like red bean paste, white bean paste, whatever you want. I am doing something a little non-traditional this time, and I am making some cream cheese black sesame filling, which sounds tasty. Store-bought fillings will work great here, but if you're making your filling, you're gonna wanna get that done before you even start your mochi, because a lot of these fillings will need to be refrigerated for at least an hour, if not overnight. I made my filling yesterday, and it's super easy. It's just 5 ingredients: softened cream cheese, ground black sesame seeds, powdered sugar, honey, and kinako powder. I may have already swiped a taste. It's a good one. So for this black sesame cream cheese, all you gotta do is mix those ingredients together, form it into balls, and stick it in the fridge. It's super easy. It's way easier than trying to make red bean paste from scratch. Trust me, I've tried. That's not simple. So your filling is done. Now it's time to make your mochi. Mochi is one of those things that I am always kind of intimidated by, even though it's actually pretty freaking simple to make. There's only 3 ingredients, maybe 4 if you want to add some sort of flavoring to it, but it's really easy. It just scares me. Start off by boiling the water for your steamer. While that is heating up, you're gonna mix your mochi batter. It's super simple. All it is mochiko, which is that glutinous rice flour that you always use for mochi, sugar, because this is a sweet mochi, flavoring if you want to. You can use extracts, you can use powders, anything you want to flavor your mochi. Matcha, rose water, there's so many options. And then just water. Mix that all together. You want a kind of pancake sort of batter. It's gonna be very loose. It's not thick at all. That's gonna happen once you steam it. So just mix it together. Your batter is ready to go. Next, it's time to steam your mochi. I kind of screwed up here a little bit, but it still turned out okay. But do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. So you're gonna wanna take a big kitchen towel, one of the thin ones, but not cheesecloth, because that's gonna be too thin and your batter will just kinda go right through, which is not what you want. You want something thick enough to hold your batter. Wet the kitchen towel. That's the part that I forgot to do. Make sure it's wet, but also squeezed out. You just want it damp. Line your steamer basket with the towel, and then pour the batter on top of the towel. Now you're ready to steam. Place the steamer basket on the base of the steamer, put the lid on top, and then take the towel and put that over the top, because you don't want it hanging down and like lighting itself on fire. That would be a bad thing. Then you're just gonna steam it, just let it cook. That's all there is to it. It's so simple. Let it steam for about half an hour to an hour. You want it uniformly translucent by the time it's done. And you've got mochi. Now that your mochi is done steaming, it's time for the part that actually scares me. It's time to shape it. It's time for the hot and sticky. Before you remove the mochi from the steamer, you're gonna want a board that you're gonna use to shape your mochi. And you're gonna want to coat that with either cornstarch if you can't get this, or Japanese potato starch, this karakuriko. I've heard that you don't want to use normal potato starch, so if you can't get this, just get cornstarch. Pretty available everywhere. and just use that, it'll be fine. So coat your board with lots and lots of this. You're gonna be using a ton of this to coat everything. So be ready. Once your mochi is completely done steaming, you're gonna take it out of the steamer with that towel and just kind of roll it out of the towel onto your board that's already been coated with starch. It should easily just kind of come off of the towel. If it doesn't, you can use like a spatula or something to scrape it off. Turn it out onto the board and then just let it sit for like 5 minutes or so to cool. It's not gonna completely cool, but it'll help. And now it's mochi shaping time. This is the part that scares me because it's really hot. To start separating out your mochi into pieces, you're going to take that big thing of mochi that you just took out of the steamer, roll it into a log about 4 to 5 inches thick, and then start pinching off golf ball sized pieces and just coat those in starch. They don't have to be fancy, just get them all separated and set out on your board. When your mochi is all separated out into pieces, now it's time to fill them. You should probably have had your cream cheese filling in the fridge this entire time because you want it to be cold because you're working with hot mochi and you don't want cream cheese just blerp melting everywhere. That's not what we want. We want that to stay inside of the mochi. So keep it as cold as possible. If you need to take some out and put the rest in the fridge to keep it cold while you work with it, you can totally do that too. For each piece of mochi, you're gonna take one of the pieces that you separated out from the big log, pat that into a small disc shape. You don't need to use a rolling pin or anything because it'll probably stick to that anyways. Just use your hands for this. And then place your ball of filling in the middle. Pinch the mochi around that filling so it is completely sealed, and then set it aside back on your board. Make sure everything is nice and coated with that potato starch. Your hands are coated, your mochi is coated, it should be everywhere. This makes a huge mess, but it's okay. It's a worthwhile mess. Lastly, and this is totally optional, but I wanted to coat my mochi in ground black sesame seeds to make it look like a SOOT SPRITE. It works. So what we're gonna do for this, and I was a little unsure about this method, but it actually works really well, is take your filled mochi, dunk it in a bowl of water. You're gonna get all that starch out, and then kind of drain it so it's not like dripping water. Then you're gonna roll it in the ground black sesame seeds, and they actually stick really, really well. Then you can put that in like a cupcake holder or even just put it in the container that you're gonna use to store them, and your mochi is done. If you wanna be cute, you can totally use some of the mochi to make little eyes to make it look like a SOOT SPRITE, but the mochi is just as tasty without it. So far I can say that my mochi fears were mostly unfounded, but it's the moment of truth. We gotta see, how does this taste? Hopefully it's good. Black sesame lipstick is all the rage. I promise I'm trendy. Okay, it's messy. As you can see from all the black sesame that's probably still all over my lips, but it's good. The mochi is super soft, and the black sesame on the outside is really tasty. It adds a bit of a nuttiness to it. Plus it totally looks like a SOOT SPRITE. I think it worked excellently. And then the inside is very interesting. Most of the time, mochi has like those bean fillings, red bean paste, white bean paste, and they tend to be on the sweeter side of things. This cream cheese black sesame filling is sweet for sure, very flavorful, but it also has a tanginess that cuts down the sweetness of everything. And it's really, really good. It's very unusual for mochi because this is not the sort of flavor profile that you ever get, but it works out really, really well. Overall, I'd say this is a success. Yay! Thank you so much for watching my black sesame SOOT SPRITE mochi video. If you want to see all of the entries to Ghibli May, The Practical Escapist has done a roundup. I will put all of her information down below, even though I kind of missed the event, but that's beside the fact. Oops. But if you're not yet subscribed to our channel, make sure to hit that sub button because we've got lots of fun stuff coming up very soon. And if you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button because it does help our little channel grow and it makes me feel good. It makes me happy. Anyways, we will see you next time. I'm a professional. Nobody will notice. It's fine.